Is that better? Okay, cool. Alrighty. Um, all right, Rich. Well, do you want to do the intro? Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Not sure if he's on. Awesome. Good. Awesome, guys. First of all, thank you for all your time. And yeah, Richard and I met last year, towards the end of last year, and saw Mike and team about 2 weeks ago, and we're busy with the sort of partner onboarding side of things. And just a little bit of background in terms of Rubler for your own knowledge. So, Rubler was started in Brisbane, in Australia. And at that point, and still currently, Australia is one of the hardest labor markets in the world, just from how you pay people and how people are paid, specifically in the shift-based workforce environment. And it goes without saying that that's where Rubler started, and there's a reason for that in the fact that we built a system that can cope with some of the most complicated workforces globally. Since then, we obviously expanded to Singapore. I lived in Singapore for about 4 years, and we started the South African business sort of on a bit of a mistake, and that's typically how startup goes. But anyway, we started the South African business and got our first customer before we had a business registered here in South Africa. Relatively large customer as well. It was the Estee Lauder Group, through the Edgar's brand, and started rolling out the business here in South Africa. We also subsequently, because we were on the EMEA time zone, commenced our UK operation at the same time. The beauty of software is that you can start it quite quickly. You don't have to deal with things like logistics and import and export. So you can start a business quite quickly. I'm the COO of the business, have been for the last 5 years. Doesn't sound long, but it feels long. And sort of been building, growing the business globally for the last 5 years. Currently based in South Africa. Got stuck here at COVID in 2020, and then just took a view of focusing on these two specific markets. The business has sort of grown organically, guys, in South Africa through the retail, hospitality, and food and beverage industry. That's typically, we know our customers, we know who we support, we know how they work, and took a view of really focusing in that industry as our industry of choice, which I think it was difficult through COVID because those are the industries that suffered. But we didn't lose any customers through that process. We actually maintained them due to the nature of our product being an efficiency driver within an organization. And we see that as the probably the area of focus at the moment for the industry is how do they achieve efficiencies through their biggest cost factor in the business, which is effectively their workforce. If you look at a company like Truth Coffee, one of our joint customers, their cost of an employee is about 25 cents out of every rand that they make. So it's a substantial cost, and if you can create efficiencies in that space by just 2-3%, you can essentially create some good profitability within an organization in that space. So our whole value proposition is so 100%, and that's probably one of the big driving forces at the moment within this food and beverage, hospitality, and retail industry. In the past, guys, they could throw money at the problem. So they could hire another three people because also minimum wage was much lower if you go back sort of 24 months ago. So minimum wage was lower, so you could just throw another three waiters at the problem if you had an increase in demand. A good case study is actually Truth Coffee, in the fact that their workforce was almost double the size 24 months ago, well, just before COVID, to what it is today. And they're reaching back to pre-COVID levels at the moment with half the staff, just because they're planning the staff better and they're taking a view of making sure that the right staff are there at the right time in accordance with the right level of demand within the organization. Probably one of the big points to this is understanding what your sales is, and this is where Rich and I came in the beginning. Was that Truth Coffee integrated Lightspeed into Rubler, so not only now do they know the cost of their labor, but they also know how that synchronizes with their sales data that's coming in hour by hour within the organization. And we're actually going to be doing quite a few webinars and interviews with clients around this specific topic to see what is the actual benefit of bringing in sales data and putting that up against labor cost, which is a business's highest cost point within the business. In some cases, up to 30%. So if for every 1 rand made, you're spending 30 cents on labor. So how do you get that down? And this is what Rubler enables you to do by knowing the data. So just to take you guys through a little bit of a view of Rubler, what I thought we could do is we could actually just start with one of our case studies from one of our joint customers, Capital Hotel Group. And I wanted just to play you a video on the call so you can actually just get a view of how Rubler is helping one of our joint customers in the group, and that's the Capital Group. You guys have Lightspeed in there, and we have Rubler in there, and they've been our customer for I think about 2.5 to 3 years now, and really sort of leveraging the system together with their point of sale systems in their various food and beverage sections of the business. So I just wanted to play you this quick video. I hope it comes through nicely, and we'll start there, and then we'll go directly into the value proposition and the demo to customers. Are you not hearing that, guys? Um, okay, hold on. Let me just try and stop presenting and just reshare the screen. Sorry, guys. Google Meets is new for us. We use Teams. So it's getting in accordance with the just give me a sec, guys. All right. What we'll do is I'll send you guys the link. It doesn't look like I can share both the audio and the video through Google Meets. Anyway, I will share this link to you guys, and then you can go and have a look at the video. It's really just quite a great case study in terms of what we've done with the Capital Hotel Group. And part of this will be given to you as yeah, 100%. So what I'm going to be giving you guys is access to a little, we actually use as part of our add-ons, Go One learning management system. And you guys have your own sort of platform where all the marketing material, brochures, videos, and all of that's going to be accessible to you guys, as well as learning about how to sell the product. We'll be putting a lot of stuff into that sort of, can I call it, I don't want to call it a partner portal, but it's more of a learning portal for new salespeople, new implementation people, etc. So yeah, I'll be doing all of that. But there is some really good case studies, some really good videos. We're busy with a few more for the South African space currently. So you guys will have access to all those just to shoot off a link to a customer, which really showcases the product in quite a lot of detail. So let's start with the actual product demo. So if you jump onto the Rubler website, you'll see a nice sort of summary of what we do. And Rubler is a sort of end-to-end, all-in-one workforce management, HR, and payroll solution. We don't do all of those modules ourselves. We specifically focus on the workforce management space and then integrate with best of breed solutions in South Africa and for the industry that we serve through the process of neat, uncomplicated. That's a good word. Integrations that we've done with various solutions along that employee value chain. So if we look at sort of like an employee life cycle within a business, essentially what we do is we recruit employees. If you think about your own experience within joining an organization, you go through a recruitment process, you go through an onboarding experience. You're then in the shift-based or in the industries that we serve, you are effectively rostered or planned. You know what they say, 80% of success comes from planning and the rest from execution. So good planning from a rostering point of view and some really intelligent stuff happening in this space. So planning the right people at the right place at the right time in accordance with your demand. And then going through to a management area whereby people arrive for that rostered shift, if you want to call it, and they'll manage through that process. So linking the two items together, planning plus arrival, and how do those sort of come together in the form of time and attendance, and so much more, sort of leave management, expense management, and payslip distribution, etc., through that self-service portal, and then all the way through to the output, which is payroll. So we actually integrate with the payroll that you use internally in Tabletpos called SimplePay. So Rubler integrates with SimplePay, PaySpace, and a number of other payroll providers or software providers that exist in South Africa. And this essentially creates a local compliance or local process within each of the markets that we serve from a payroll point of view. We're never going to go and build our own payroll engine. It's too complicated. It's not what we're good at. So we'd rather integrate with companies that do that job really well, from a payroll point of view. There's also a couple of, obviously, in between each of these parts of the life cycle, there are other add-ons which over time we've sort of created, and you will be exposed to those. But we want to keep it really simple in the beginning, because what we're selling is a workforce management solution, connected with obviously your Lightspeed solution, that you already sell to the market. And it's a really great sort of complementary product, if you want to call it that. Right, so let's just jump straight into the demo, or the product demo for you. I'm going to be adding all of you to a demo account that we've created for Tabletpos. So you guys have your own demo account. You'll have your own access to that, and each of you will be able to sort of demonstrate or show the product, at least to customers, quite easily, through your own demo access that you're going to have. I'm going to provide some instructions a bit later where you can download the Rubler application and get all of this information quite easily in your demos. So I just wanted to show you some of the interfaces. So first and foremost, Rubler is a cloud-based solution, so accessible from any device, from anywhere in the world. Straight off your desktop or your mobile application. You'll see my phone on the right hand side of the screen there, just navigating to the Rubler application. So this is the self-service application that employees will use. So you can see there's the Rubler app available in the App Store, the Play Store, and as well as the Huawei app store as well. But ultimately, this is the employee self-service terminal. So what you'll notice on the right-hand side is good morning, Kerry. Kerry's going to be our demo employee for today. You can see that she's got a shift coming up on Tuesday. She can have a look at her available shifts from a shift bidding point of view, which we're going to cover in the demonstration a bit later. She can go and see her roster. She can go and apply for leave or go and see her leave balances. She can go and view documents and notes and videos or anything that HR is sort of workflow for her to see. She can see her payroll, so her pay slips for each of the month that she's been paid. She can go and submit expense claims, very similar to how you would submit a claim to your HR. She can clock in, clock out from her phone, which is an option to utilize as an employee. And actually, just to do that quickly now, we will clock Kerry in to her site. I'm just changing companies, guys, quickly. So she's going to go and clock in. What you're going to notice is that it sort of takes a photo, and that's facial verification is used through the AWS network. She puts in a temperature. She can say, are you coughing or not? All of these are customizable fields, and she can submit her clock in, clock out. We also have a benefit structure as well, further integrations to early wage solutions that are out in the market, which we'll talk about as well. So that's sort of the employee self-service application. There's also manager settings. So if Kerry was a manager, she could go and approve timesheets, she could go and approve leave, and all sorts of stuff. So which we'll target each of these as we go through today. The web interface is essentially where the magic happens, and this is where all the control takes place through the system. So first and foremost, you'll see I've logged into Rubler. When you log into your Tabletpos one, you're going to notice that it's white labeled for Tabletpos. So the logos and some of the colors are all a little bit different. And this tells you that you can sort of white label the solution to the customer. So Capital Hotel Group, for example, has the Capital logos at the top, because one thing you want from a HR system is you want it to be your own. That sort of increases the employer brand across the business as well. So companies don't feel that they're dealing with a piece of software, but their own piece of software. As I jump in, so I'm logged in as the supervisor, or can I call not the supervisor? I'm logged in as the super user across the company, so I can see everything. I can see I've got 151 leave requests to approve. I've got some expense requests to approve, timesheets, 77 shifts to publish. Got some unsigned documentation, and some employee requirements that are expiring soon. Things like um, certain first aid certificates, as an example. You need a first aid person in the shop, and that person needs to have a valid first aid certificate. So a lot of what Rubler does in terms of its core competency is also handle compliance within an organization. Things like minimum wage, having the right people working the right shifts, and having the right sort of approvals in place before something happens. In the restaurant industry, guys, right now, things like how many locals do I have, or how many asylum seekers are working in the business, are core focuses, as you have seen in the newspapers with the EFF walking around to restaurants and causing issues with restaurant owners, etc. If you can think about it, they've got it at a click of a button, and they've got all the information available, like IDs, copy of IDs, etc., all within the cloud, which really helps them from a compliance point of view. What you'll notice is that Rubler is very dashboardy, so it's not your typical navigation, Windows navigation. It's very dashboardy, very graphical, because ultimately what you want is people spending less time on the PC and more time on the shop floor, engaging with customers. So I just need to know what's going on in the business, what's wrong, what do I need to do, and what do I need to fix or remediate as an owner, manager, supplier, or whatever that may be. So the first and foremost, I've got things like a dashboard telling me rostered hours versus actual hours. So this is the linkage between, what did I plan versus what actually happened, from an hours count and dollar point of view. Rand point of view. So in terms of the 2nd of May, I rostered 156 hours, but actually only used 125 hours. And that could be for various reasons. People didn't pitch. I sent people home earlier. But ultimately, what that gray line is my budget, because I wouldn't roster above my budget in terms of the company's sort of plan on its execution. So I can see some trends here. I can see trends from last week to this week. So last week I used more hours than I have started to use this week. And you can see sort of the run rate according to sort of trends in the business. When we flip over to the likes of Capital Hotel Group, and I will just expose Truth Coffee, because it's something that you guys know quite well. You'll start to see some real data in accordance with what's happening in their business right now. I've got today's staff, so I've got 8 people that are rostered. I've got no one on shift just yet, and I've got some latecomers to the business today, which I might need to go and have a little chat with 2 of these people and see why they are coming late. I can kind of see this throughout a period of time, so I can see that 19 staff in this month have been on time as per their shift plans, and 14 have been late. So I've got some HR issues here that I need to think about or need to resolve. If we think about where this whole process starts, guys, the whole process of bringing an employee onto the business starts with onboarding them. Now, you typically have a challenge where the typical onboarding process of a restaurant chain or a set of restaurants is really paper driven. and therefore very inconsistent in terms of the information you're getting in or getting out. To give you some idea, Capital Hotel Group, even as sophisticated as them, before we met them, they had clipboards at the different hotels that they would get people to fill out and complete and then send information back to head office. In some cases, that information didn't get back to head office and there was stuff missing. I mean, we've all been through it, right? There's an ID copy missing or something to that effect, and therefore people actually didn't get paid. Togo Sun, which is, they've rebranded themselves now back to the original name called Southern Sun. You'll all remember that. And Southern Sun has had exactly the same issue. As sophisticated and how big they weren't paying people on time because information wasn't getting back to a central point in terms of their onboarding process. So Rubla has a completely digital onboarding experience and something really easy for managers and or owners to essentially follow. And this is it happens through two processes. So onboarding, I'm just going to do it as an example. I'm going to onboard Nigel, N-I-G-E-L-J, at Gmail. I'm just going to use my Gmail account. So I can demonstrate this to you guys. You'll notice I'm already in the system, so it's just warning me. I'm going to come in as a cook. I'm going to be at location or cost center A. So, the different business units or sub-locations or however you want to name them. I'm going to put that person on a specific payroll. I'm going to onboard them as a full-time employee earning, let's say, 2,000 Rand per month. And I'm going to make them work 36 hours a week, reporting to a specific person. And they go, yeah, 100%. So this person will move between multiple locations, but they have a primary location, right? So they'll have a primary location that they're employed with, and then they can essentially be placed across multiple locations. And we have good examples of this, guys, where you have a sort of group of staff that are moving between locations due to demand. So, they can work at this store today, that store tomorrow, and they get paid in two separate places, and in some cases get two separate pay slips because the company wants to separate that cost in their books. So yeah, 100% possible on that side of things. So what you'll notice is that from that process, I've received an onboarding instruction. Now, think about this, guys. This is an employee receiving this, right? So this is an employee now that's received a notification that they've got a job and now that they need to go and onboard themselves. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, South African market, maybe not so much. They don't have things like emails and smartphones and those type of things. And guys, you'll be quite surprised. We underestimate our market quite considerably when it comes to their ability to have the infrastructure that we think they don't. And there is a very big percentage of people that actually have smartphones and these type of things and know how to navigate them. The bottom line, if you've got WhatsApp, you've got a smartphone, and you can utilize the Rubla system. Even if you don't, you can onboard manually these individuals, but we typically try and get customers to utilize the efficiencies that Rubla tries to create through the delivery of the software. So as an employee, this is all mobile friendly, by the way. I am doing it on my desktop, but this is all mobile friendly. I accept the job. I say, yes, Nigel, I'm going to be a cook. I'm happy to do that. And I go through a process of giving all my information. Now, this is pre-populated already because I've already done it once before. I upload a copy of my driver's license or my passport or my identification document. And remember when I was telling you about the whole EFF thing? This is where now we're going to go and place all this information against an employee record in the system. So the owner now has all the information available to him at a click of a button in the cloud, as opposed to in some cabinet somewhere in the business. put in all my local information, my ID number, etc., my skill set, if I've got a first aid certificate, if it's something that I need, my banking details, and select all those localized banks that are here in South Africa. I'm just going to leave it as cash for now. So it's essentially taking a person on a journey that is very standardized and very consistent with all the stuff that you need. Things like medical details, it's a declaration. One of our upcoming releases is to put our COVID-19 certification in here as well, which should be coming by June this year in terms of development to upload your certificate and your status. I will sign that declaration and go on another journey if I had this configured in the system, whereby I could sign employee handbooks, I could watch an induction video, I could sign a smoking policy, or whatever the customer has come up with in terms of their HR processes within the organization. So really quite comprehensive, but also quite easy to navigate. The next stage is then I become an employee, right? And this is then my employee list within the organization. So right here, like good old the HR cabinet in the HR office in in your office, where you've got sort of the drawer that you pull out and you've got all everybody's files and everything in that file. You can go and chuck that away because now you've got a full employee master file data list here at your fingertips in the system. So if I go and have a look at this employee as an example, everything that he's done through his onboarding is now nicely presented to me in the system. I've got all his personal information, address information, his bank accounts, his payroll information if he's been paid, any additional information I want to keep, like I've given him a uniform that he needs to give back or something to that effect. I've got documents and notes that I can keep track of, so any disciplinary action or any items that I want to add to the employee's profile can all be kept here as well. I can have a look at his time and attendance information, so what shifts he's been put on and where he's going to be working. I can look at all these leave that he's submitted, how many days he has available to him. So at the moment, this guy's got no days available, but he's got 30 days sick leave due to him as well. What kind of access he's got across the business. So in other words, he can work in sublocation A, and that was just answer to your question a bit earlier. He can work in sublocation A, sublocation B, and in sublocation 2, he can work as an employee. We'll talk about ratings and all these type of things as we go on a bit later in the business. Remember, Rubla's big sell point is obviously its rostering solution. So a lot of the configuration comes around where can an employee work and where should he work when we talk about ratings. So he should work in sublocation A first before he works in sublocation 2. Because what we're going to show you just now is the ability for Rubla to smart roster people across someone's business in a couple of seconds rather than taking hours and hours and hours to formulate rosters. So I've got a really good view at my employee database, and I've rostered an employee. I have onboarded an employee digitally, and I've gained all his information, and now I have a record of that employee. That's the first thing. Oh, and by the way, you just seen the Kerry Slater, the demo employee that we rostered. She clocked in at 9:22. But she wasn't rostered to start. She just arrived, which we'll talk about as we go through time and attendance. So the main point here, guys, is that Rubla can be set up or configured around any sort of location setup that a customer has. So it's multi-tiered and multi-permissioned. So in other words, we can have a couple of restaurants, or we can have back of house, front of house. What you're going to notice when we jump into the Truth Coffee example is that each of the divisions that you guys actually track sales for, that have been set up from a sales point of view, those are locations within Rubla, like the bakery and the the cafe, etc. So we'll talk about all of those setups and configurations that a customer can do. Also, if a manager of sublocation 2 is set up to only see sublocation 2, he will then only see information that is relevant to him and not the other locations. This is where you want to sort of drive accountability to specific managers within the organization, and keep the top layer sort of uncluttered with people seeing certain information, etc. Right, so I've onboarded an employee. I have completed that employee into the system. Once that employee has completed his onboarding, and I haven't got it yet because I haven't gone all the way through, but the employee will get a little notification saying, thank you for onboarding. Please download the Rubler application, and here's your login details, as well as all the information that you signed through that process. So it'll actually deliver his contract, his all the documentation that he signed in terms of employee handbooks and smoking policies and whatever it may be, directly back to the employee. So HR never needs to go and resend a scanned copy of the signed contract to the employee again after they completed their onboarding process. So really automating that entire sort of workflow of onboarding an employee. If I can't onboard an employee, I can just add the employee directly to the database. So, there will be cases where we can't send somebody an onboarding instruction because they don't have those facilities. So information can then just be captured directly into the system by the HR or the manager directly into the system. So let's jump into the next workflow. The next workflow is rostering. And this is the exciting piece for our customers. Our rostering is really quite different because we focus not only on planning a roster, which you can do on an Excel sheet pretty easily, but actually being able to quantify that roster against a cost that it's going to cost the business for that specific shift down to the employee level. The rostering that you can see in front of you, let me just navigate you through what you're looking at. So first and foremost, you're looking at a week. So it's Monday to Sunday. We can see that down to a day. So we can see it hour by hour. We can see it by fortnight or by month. A week view, I'm going to start there because to give you an idea. We're looking at it the 9th to the 15th. So this week, guys. And then we're going to look at next week, which is a blank roster, right? So this is this week's roster, typically planned last week Thursday, because that's when you need things to be planned within our environment. We've got a couple of data points here, which we'll talk about in a second. These data points are quite important for an owner, and this is what sort of Ken from Truth Coffee looks at every single day and essentially monitors that. And we've got some high-level items at the top here. So I've got 146 shifts this week, 970 hours. Its cost estimate is 367. My budget is that. My efficiency is that. So at the moment, I'm running this business really lean and I'm running it really well. So in other words, that 3.53% means that for every R1 that I make, I'm spending 3 cents on labor, which is unheard of in our industry. But anyway, I'm going to make your demo account a little bit more realistic when you guys start jumping into it. I can look at the roster by employee, by location. So instead of by employee, I can see, okay, location, cost center 1. These are the people on Monday. These are the people on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, respectively. And I can actually see down to the costs of that. So, Monday is going to cost me 43 Rand, Tuesday 65 Rand, Wednesday 40 bucks, etc., etc. Now, one of Rubler's silver bullets is that we have the ability to have customizable rule sets built into the system, which a customer can build themselves. So if you look at this shift as an example, and I see the cost breakdown, I can see a basic rate, of 6 hours at 21 Rand is that person's cost. 130 Rand is the cost of that shift. Now let's say, for example, the business, like Ken does, has a night shift allowance or an overtime allowance or any category that you can think of. If they arrive early to do the cleaning or opening up the shop, they get a specific, they get a once-off amount of 20 Rand or whatever that may be. We're going to have a look at some of the more complicated ones later. Rubler can interpret all of that down to the shift level. It can even interpret things like PAYE, UIF, and all the statutory requirements as well, and really give the owner of the business a real life view of what that shift's going to cost them from a cost point of view. Deputy couldn't do this, guys. So Deputy cannot go down to those very detailed statutory slash business rules in the business, and therefore can only give a manpower cost, which, to be honest with you, manpower cost is one thing, but it's all the underlying costs that you don't see that actually start eating away at the margin within the business. So Rubler gives a very accurate, detailed costing of each of the shifts that are in the businesses at the moment. So we can see by location. I can even see down to position. So how many barristers do I have? How many cooks do I have? On the different days of the week or within the different hours of the day. And then if I look at this down to a day view, which we'll talk about at the moment, we can start to see hour by hour, where do we have these different shifts and where they're located in the specific day and how much are they actually costing us. We can also go and look at, moving these shifts. So if I want to drop and drag this shift, or I want to go and move it to become more profitable in these lines at the top here, which we'll start talking about in a minute, we can start planning the roster and what we call rostering for profit, which is a concept that we've deemed or termed in one of our blogs that we've come up with in terms of how do you roster for profit and not just for operations within an organization. So again, looking at the efficiency per hour or the cost per hour, as well as how we're running the business throughout the course of the day. Let's just go back into how our rosters created. So remember, one of the key aspects of building a roster is to make sure you've got the right people working at the right time within the organization. So we're just going to go to a clean roster. So this is typically how it would go. So if I'm Ken from Truth Coffee, and not Ken himself, but he's supervise a team that are rostering the team for the week, they would essentially start this process on Thursday this coming week, and they would have a look at, okay, what staff do I need from Monday next week to Sunday next week, and how do we put this together? So typically what they do in a very manual environment, guys, if you're using a spreadsheet, is you'll go through a book or you go through WhatsApp and you'll say, right, John, can you work on Monday? I see Peter's on leave, so therefore, can you work on Monday in place of Peter? And you would go continuously through this process. In some cases, rosters can take up to like 5 hours to actually complete for a coming week. In the hospitality game, we actually did an ROI calculation on the indirect cost spent on building rosters and having managers sit behind computers on Excel to create rosters. So ultimately, you would put all these shifts together, knowing that you need 2 waiters on a Monday, 3 on a Tuesday, because Tuesday gets busy, and these people on leave, and these people can work. And I don't want Nigel to work with Peter because they kind of don't get along. And there's all these sort of variables within the business that essentially are put together to generate a roster. Rubler does it quite a bit differently. Now remember, guys, what did we do in the beginning? We onboarded these employees, right? Now, when we onboarded them, we got all their skill sets, their positions, We know where they must work. We know when they can work. We also manage their leave, so we know when they're on leave. So the system, because it's HR, workforce management, and payroll, knows a lot of information compared to just a single rostering system that just says Nigel can work here. It also knows its cost, it knows the business cost, it knows the business budget. So Rubla essentially is a big data system that is essentially designed to now take all that big data and interpret it against a set of rules that the business has to make a roster compliant. And I know it sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. Nigel, as the supervisor of location tree location, will first go and say, right, let me go and add the templates of this organization. And I've got a template. And what a template effectively is, guys, is a template is just a plan. It's a predetermined plan. It knows that I need one cook and one cleaner and 5 waiters, and it's a template of activities that happen throughout the course of the week. So I just want to go and apply that template to the 16th of May and apply it quickly. So it automatically plots the shifts that I need to fill for the week. So if I just go and have a look at it from a location point of view, I'll see that those are the shifts I need to fill in the different locations on the different days of the week. But at this point, there's no names against it, right? So if I look at the employee names, that they're all unassigned. So what I have at the moment are all my shifts that I need to fill. Now I need to find the people to fill those shifts, right? So a very basic roster would be drop the template for that specific week. And the template can be built around things like public holidays and special occasions or events or whatever it may be. The template can be created like that. The next step as a manager would be to go and run my smart rostering. So I'm going to go and run smart rostering. So now what it's doing, guys, is it's going into the database. It's looking for the people that could work in these different locations, and it's allocating shifts to those people against a set of business rules that are also looking at statutory requirements. So in other words, I must have 2 days off in a week, not necessarily Saturday and Sunday, but I need to have 2 days off in a week. I can't work more than 40 hours in a week because then I'm going to go into overtime. I can't overlap 2 shifts at once. I can't work in 2 locations at once. So it's taking into account all of these business rules. It's also looking at when is Kerry on leave? Is she on leave today, tomorrow? So therefore she can't work a shift. And it's allocating those shifts. So what you can see is that, guys, it's already allocated 90% of those shifts to people that should work those shifts in the course of the week. And it's done it in a very compliant fashion. It's done it very quickly. And it's probably taken away 80% or 90% of the workload that now I need to go and do. So I've still got a couple of unassigned shifts. That basically means the system couldn't find anyone to meet those. I either don't have enough people working for me, or if I go and put this shift as an example over here next to Tanya, and I go and drag that shift there, it's not going to allow me because it's not compliant. It's going to mean that that person's going to work more hours than they should be working in the month. So you'll automatically see that it's thrown a little red thing and it says this shift overlaps with another shift, so you can't actually publish it. Just for the sake of this demo, we're going to go and give Kerry a shift manually. So I'm just going to go and find that Kerry Slater, and we're going to give her a position of cook, and we're going to put her in that on the 16th, 9 to 5, and we're going to save that. So we'll see Kerry Slater coming up there now, and I just wanted to sort of demonstrate this process to you in terms of how the actual communication of the roster happens, which is a key element to that process. So the employee will effectively go and, the manager will effectively go and publish that roster by pushing a button and confirming that. And in real time, the shifts are published and people are notified in accordance with their roster. So what you'll notice is that On the 16th, Kerry got a little notification, but now on the 16th, she's got that shift from 9 to 5 on the 16th of May. If I went and unpublished that shift, what you'll notice in almost real time is the 16th then gets taken away on my phone, if you can notice that. And if I went and go and change it in terms of the time or, where this person's meant to work, I can go and move them and say to 6 p.m. And I can go and publish that in real time as well. So what that does, well, I'm going to go and publish that one single shift. You'll notice that my phone will update, and the person gets a little notification at the top there. If the app's not open, obviously, you can see that information right there. So yeah, real-time communication with the employee. And I think what's important is the employee gets to see his shift, not just an Excel sheet on a wall that has everybody's shifts on it and not specific to that employee. Again, I can go and see what's the cost breakdown. This person's getting a normal rate. I just want to see if there's one that's got more than one line open in terms of the. We'll go into one of the other accounts now and check it out. But anyway, so it's cost my roster. I can see how much it's going to cost me for the week and what my cost estimate is according to that. Obviously, if I've got budgeted or forecasted sales coming through from my budget, that would be inputted directly into the system via our integration with our integration engine. And then obviously the actual sales is what comes directly from Lightspeed and integrated into that as well. So we start to get to see our actual versus our forecasted efficiency. That is something that is seen. Yep. 100%. So, there's a way to do this manually if it's not integrated. You've got your smaller operations that don't have all the bells and whistles. They can just capture this information directly into the UI and bring it in. But we do like to integrate the actual sales because then it's real time and then it starts to hold some value for the customer, which I'm going to show you the screen that they look at on an ongoing basis. So the plan's done. We know how much it's going to cost us. We know how many shifts. Everybody knows when they're meant to go to work, etc. And that process of planning is complete. The next step is essentially to the day that everything happens. So the arrival, right? So Kerry clocked in, as you saw a bit earlier. We're just going to clock Kerry out for the day. So we're going to clock out. You can also see they can clock in for breaks. Good as well. But you can see also here we're gaining some employee wellness stuff, which is the new way. So how was your shift? Happy, sad, not so sad? And that information has started to be, built in the background around, hey, this location seems to have happier staff than other locations. Maybe we've got a problem with the manager. So, trying to build, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so there's a couple of ways of doing this, guys. Obviously, not all people have access to a smartphone, right? So Rubla has a number of different ways that you can clock in, clock out. So we've got a desktop application where you can put this on a PC, right? And people can clock in. A tablet, so it's an application as well. So Truth Coffee, for example, has got this running on your um, tablet that you got Lightspeed on, and people clock in and out from there as well, or on the mobile phone. So it's up to the business how they want to gather that data. So in this case, Kerry would have a little PIN code that she uses. I'm just going to go into somebody else. I'm going to go into this Bonito guy and just check what his pin is, 6742. So when Bonito arrives, he hits the screen 6742, and he clocks in, captures the photo as well. And remember, that's a fixed device, so it's at the front, it's at the point of sale. So Bonito would have clocked in via the tablet that you guys have on the system. So let's go and have a look at how that all came together, right? So yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It's doing, we use the AWS service, which was something actually deployed through COVID, through AWS, because of this need for facial verification on people clocking in and out for work through the whole, work from home scenario. So AWS has got this little service that you can switch on and off, which enables sort of facial verification on the photos that have been sort of acquired from the solution. So there's Kerry. She clocked in, out. There's the two photos, but more importantly, where did that happen? And obviously, that's where I live, guys. So that's Johannesburg, and that's almost exactly where I am. So yeah, so that's coming via a mobile clock. We don't have geofencing just yet, so we can't say you can't clock in from a specific location. Geofencing is coming out in July, which allows us to then say this location is at this coordinate, and therefore you can't clock in or out from any other location. But at the moment, what it does do is it looks at facial verification, and we've got some guys doing some clever stuff with that, where they at Capital, when they clock in, they do it at a background or a backdrop. So they've got this backdrop that looks exactly the same, and therefore the facial verification will pick up if the background is not the same as it was yesterday. So you can't clock in from your bed. That's been quite a clever solution that someone came up with because we didn't have geofencing. Anyway, yeah, yeah. No, no. So actually, now that we say that, we've just completed an integration with ERS biometrics. So if a customer has ERS, which is probably one of the biggest biometrics hardware supplier in South Africa, I used to do quite a lot of work with them in the past. If they have an ERS solution, they can integrate the timesheet through ERS biometrics. But at the moment, the beauty of the clock is the fact that it can be set up in a day. Essentially, you don't need any specific hardware. You just plug it into the tablet and you're good to go. But yeah, they have to use the PIN. And you might think that that is a little bit difficult, but and we've got some of the largest hotel groups and blue collar to pink collar workers using this with very little challenge once they get used to the process. But yeah, does that? Yeah, that what? Yeah. Mm. And I mean, yeah. So guys, remember, facial verification is biometrics. So it's the definition of biometrics is a unique identifier. We've just learned that in the past it was fingerprints, but biometrics it's a blood sample if you wanted to go that far. So it is biometrics in the name of the word essentially. Um, yeah, so anyway, so Kerry Slater's clocked in and clocked out. We've created a timesheet. The difference between rostered and actual cost is highlighted directly in the timesheet. And what we will go and have a look at just now is some real life information around variances and looking at those variances and seeing how they essentially help a business see how they are doing against what they planned. There's a sort of process that happens here, so I can go and see it down to, what happened Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the different timesheets, what's the total hours and the total cost. I can go and see it by employee, and I can go and see there's Jack Daniel. He worked Monday, he didn't work Tuesday, he worked Wednesday. Total hours, almost very similar to how you would see a timesheet. The only difference here, guys, and one of the silver bullets is that I'm not just giving hours here, I'm giving cost for that line. So, and that's something that a spreadsheet can't give you straight off the bat. That has to be imported and then pushed through to payroll and then calculated, etc. So what this is starting to allow businesses to do is sort of make decisions as we go. The value proposition here is that you now have the data to make those decisions now, instead of at the end of the month when you're sitting with a, 4,000 Rand overtime bill and you have to pay it because no one saw it coming. Now we can start to see it coming. We can start to ask the questions about what are we doing and how we doing the process. So we can approve a timesheet. The next stage is to authorize a timesheet. The next stage is to commit a timesheet. And the next stage is to payroll timesheet. Now, all of those can be wrapped up into one step, but the system is there designed for scale. So you have, managers that approve, and then GMs that authorize, and then, HR that commits, and then the owner that adds it to a pay run. So you can have those segregation of duties, or you can have it all. The owner can do everything. I mean, to give you some idea, Ken does the whole process by himself, and all the different steps of the game. Someone want to ask a question? Hello? Okay. Sorry, I heard some background. Sorry, I heard some background noise. Right, so once the payroll's completed, or all the timesheets for a specific period are done and submitted, the customer, if they've got the payroll solution connected, can go and get their payroll out of the system and download all the timesheets in one export summary. And they can then go and import this, guys, into VIP, or if they want to use our payroll solution. And this is probably a question that Richard, Mike, Jason, we're going to have to talk about and see how far we go with the solution. But this can be imported directly into Simple Pay by a click of a button. And then the customer can go and run their payroll. However, you'll normally find, guys, that customers that you engage with might already have their own payrolls, and actually all they're looking for is a system to do this process, to sort of consolidate everything, so then they can go and import this into their current VIP or Sage or whatever it may be, and go and actually take this data and just go and put it in. You'll see there it says Kerry Slater worked 9 hours and the cost is 126. And typically what they do from a business point of view is they just go and capture those 9 hours into the payroll, and the payroll does the interpretation against those 9 hours. Obviously, if they've got the full suite, if they've gone and said, right, they want Rubler plus payroll, then the whole process is pretty seamless, that it goes through to the payroll engine and completes that process as well. Rubler can also handle leave. So, Kerry Slater goes and puts in a leave item. And what you will find is that, one of the biggest challenges that a business does have is actually leave management. You'll speak to a lot of restaurants and a lot of hotels that one of the big problems that they have is tracking leave. So Rubler has a solution to that. I can put in a new request. I can put that in for the 17th. I can go and select a leave type, like it's annual leave. It'll forecast my leave, and I can go and put in a note on holiday, and it provides a very easy way for customers to track their leave through the process. So there it is, Kerry Slater. She's put it in the background there. Let me just get rid of this front screen. She's put in her leave application, and then I can go and either approve that, decline it, or change it, and then she'll get a notification of that process as well. So, really giving a good handle on the leave management side of things as well. There's obviously expense claims, which we've spoken about. This works very similar to leave. I put in an expense claim, travel claim, 200 Rand, took a customer out um, for lunch or whatever it may be, and these can be approved and pushed through to payroll as well. So all in one nice piece. The one that I want to show you is the business intelligence space, where this is what Ken looks at on a week-to-week basis, guys. So I can have a look at a dashboard view of my whole business for a week, month, or custom period, or whatever it may be, to see how my business is doing. So from an hours point of view, so how many hours did I roster? How many did I timesheet? So in this case, I'm actually under, so I've over planned in terms of my delivery. That's what I rostered, the blue line, and that's actually what happened from a timesheet point of view, which is great. My cost, my budget was $7. I rostered 475, but I only timesheeted 238. So I can see there's my rostered costs. So I was planning a massive Tuesday, but actually I sent a lot of people home. And sometimes you see these in reverse. So you can see over here. So Wednesday, my planned cost was that, but I actually went a bit over. Maybe I went into overtime. Why did I go into overtime? Pick up the phone to my manager. Why did we go into overtime on Wednesday? So again, having the ability to ask the question is part of how Rubler enables the business. Because typically, guys, this kind of information would only be found out when you're wrapping up month-end payroll. And now you're sitting with an overtime bill. My sales versus my sales actual, so you can actually see those two lines are pretty close, but ultimately from Monday to Thursday, I was in a bit of a problem. Well, I actually made more money Monday to Thursday than I planned to make, but then I made less money through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So where's my problem here? Am I over budgeting costs, and how that relates to my cost versus my sales becomes an important thing. Then my overall efficiency is what's calculated here. If we just flip over to truth to get a really good view at this, and I'm sure Ken won't mind me just showing this piece of the puzzle to you, considering you're a customer. He's a customer of yours. So let's have a look at, let's go the week last week. So you can see Ken is forecasting to operate the business at 24% labor efficiency. He's actually coming in at 20%. And this is how it's moving throughout the course of the week. So actually, on Saturday, he was running the business more efficiently than on Friday. But that could mean that Friday was a slow day, or something happened on Friday. It could be justifiable, but the point is that the question can be asked and the information is available. And by the way, this information is coming from, well, this actual line here is coming from Lightspeed every single day through the integration. So that's all automated in terms of the process. If we quickly look at Ken's roster, you'll notice that how he runs that business, 9th to the 15th. So he's planning a forecasted efficiency of, and I'll just zoom in on this so you guys can actually have a little bit of a squizzer. So, on Monday, he's operating the business at 19%, then 16%, then 20%. As the week gets a bit busier, 21% on Friday, and that's his you know, forecast cost line, forecast sales line. Obviously, the sales hasn't been done yet, guys. Lightspeed hasn't sent the information because it hasn't happened yet. But if we go to last week, we should start seeing some of the actual sales coming through from Lightspeed directly over here. So really giving the business the information that they need to make decisions within the organization. So I have created a Tabletpos, and look, guys. So we'll stop there for now because I'm cognizant of time. But what it's a bit of an ongoing journey on how to demo the product and how to really look at the different aspects of the value proposition. I would want to start spending a little bit more time, maybe over, it's impossible to uh, train you today and you're selling tomorrow, but at least you're talking about it tomorrow. What we're going to be doing is putting together some material in this training channel for you that you can start sending to customers from a value proposition point of view, how it works, some sales assistance tools for you to market the product. We're obviously going to be doing the whole sort of partnership coming together, holding hands type of thing soon. That's all planned within the next couple of weeks with Jason and the team and our marketing team. So that will be coming together. You guys are going to get access to this demo account. I'm going to direct you on what to do and how to log in and all of that. I'm going to be sending you login credentials so you can experience this process and then have access to the whole the system. And then you guys can go and play. We're going to give you some tips to go and play with the solution and go and essentially be able to demo the solution to a customer. Rich, is that sufficient for today? Any questions? Oh, Shan. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. No, 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 exactly. And I mean, what did I, l- I learned sales 101. You got to be careful and sell one thing at a time. So yeah, I mean, I think we've also got like we've got like a 10-minute video that sort of overviews the whole of Rubler in a very professional sort of way that could essentially just be played as a demo when you're on the phone to customers. And yes, Jason could take on the bigger value proposition as such. But I wanted to do this one today to really give you a sort of a wrapped up version of all the different value propositions of Rubler. What do you guys think? Are you guys? Yeah, yeah. That's awesome, guys. Right, so what I'll do is I'll coordinate everything with Jason and yourself, Rich, over the next couple of days, and we can set up that sort of really focused sales pack or sales deck for your guys, just to really hammer it quick and get it over and done with. And obviously also the commercial model as well. Um, are there any questions from the team? How do you guys feel? Does it look cool? Anyone? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, guys, I mean, I think the difference between Deputy and Rubler, Deputy, number one, it's an Australian system. We compete quite heavily in Australia with them. But the localization is not there for South Africa. Specifically with regards to this rules engine that I'm talking about, where you can, you put in your allowances and your night shift allowances and your early arrival allowances and PAYE and UIF and really being able to deep dive into that cost is one of our silver bullets in Rublet. One of our huge sort of competitive advantages against some of the other solutions that are out there at the moment. And it's much more comprehensive and it's South African based. So it's not dollar based. Everything's rand based in terms of the commercial model. And there's support here. We've got an office here. We've got people here. So I think that's the difference in the experience that you guys are going to have. That's it. That's it. Cool guys, we're really looking forward to this, and yeah, I think the why Tabletpos in terms of a reseller for us has just been so clear. It's we're similar type of cultures within our organization, and we serve the same customers, so it makes sense. Cool. Yep. Okay. All right. Awesome, guys. Thanks very much for your time. We're looking forward to this. Cheers, there, guys. Bye bye. Bye bye.